A very good morning to everybody. Welcome to the first edition of Pollution Control India. This is a very proud and great initiative which our team did decide to start off about a couple of months ago. And one of the first webinars or topics which my team wanted to discuss on was, does pollution really exist? This was a topic inspired by our esteemed speakers and by a lot of people on our community, which is on the LinkedIn and Facebook. Just to give a brief introduction about the online discussion which we are going to have right now, I would like to introduce our speakers before I get into the topic. We have with us our moderator, Mr. Vishwas Kale, who comes with a fantastic experience of over 40 years in the field of environment. He is a hardcore environmental enthusiast. He has worked with companies such as Dor Oliver Limited, Mumbai, for over 10 years. And now he runs his own organizations under the name of Clean Environmental Consultants Private Limited, Clean Laboratories and Research Private Limited in Mumbai. This is an environmental laboratory recognized by the Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change at the Government of India. We also have two brilliant speakers with us, Mr. Vivek Atre, who is an ex-IS officer, a motivational speaker, the author of a brilliant book by the name Finding Success Within, and member of the Governor's Advisory Council for Chandigarh. Mr. Atre has done the 8 TEDx talks and 3 Josh talks. Over 2 million people are his followers on YouTube. He is also the founder of the Suvichar think tank, which is a group of eminent personalities from policy, including policymakers, decision influencers, and industries to make a positive change in the society and the ecosystem. We have with us our second speaker, a young entrepreneur, a young sustainable business entrepreneur, Mr. Atul Mehta, who is the founder and president of Soulcraft. He calls himself a problem solver. He's an ardent recycling enthusiast with a focus on varied range of textile and rubber upcycling. Mr. Atul Mehta has been involved in with various government schools in providing them with education kits and has been facilitating the CSR activities of various corporate offices. This sustainable business venture, Soulcraft, aims at recycling denim material and rubber tires to create innovative products for government schools as well as corporate gifting. Our speakers today would be focusing on multiple issues related to managing pollution at an individual level. When we talk of pollution, what is pollution? We define pollution as anything which is unwanted in the ecosystem and which may cause physical and psychological harm to any living organism. However, when we do a deeper analysis of what are the various types of pollutants, we can understand that a lot of materials which are just discarded as waste are really not waste. Their improper recycling, disposal, and treatment is what is making them a pollutant or a waste. Whereas there are many ways of cleaning out pollutants, it is time for us to think of ways to control, recycle, and use these so-called waste materials in an innovative manner. We have Mr. Vivek Atre, who has dedicated his time to train and teach users on recycling and resource utilization to reduce pollution in the ecosystem. He proposes interesting and innovative ways which individuals can adopt to curb and control pollution. He has been inspiring volunteers across the country to adopt anti-pollution initiatives in the interest of preserving the ecosystem. He will help us understand means of managing the daily pollutants and their effective treatment, enabling the reduction in pollution, better use of resources, and overall reduced cost of daily activities. We also have Atul Mehta ji, who being from the textile background, has been working on innovative ways of upcycling textile as well as rubber. He is going to help all of us today learn as to what are the various options that successful business entrepreneurs as well as successful sustainable businesses can propose. May I take the honor of welcoming our moderator to take this discussion ahead. Mr. Vishwas Kale, please join us. You have such a tremendous experience in the field of industrial pollution, having addressed it over 400 plants and have also addressed it in the country of Africa, including Kenya, Uganda, and the Democratic Republic of Congo. You are also a member of the Water Environment Federation, USA, since the 1985 and have also been strategic in finding the association, which is the Indian Environmental Association. Welcome, sir, and it's an honor to have you as the moderator for this panel. It's over to you now, sir. Welcome all the attendees and look forward to an interesting discussion. Please feel free to drop in your questions in the chat box and we will make sure that all the questions are addressed at the end of the session. Thank you. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, Himashi.
Yes.
The way you introduce is a huge subject which you are looking for the solutions. And these two gentlemen from a different background are going to contribute a solution, and I am keen to learn about it. Because as we know that industrial, this garbage, which is solid waste we call it, has a 40 opportunities, right from paper, textile, steel, so many things, and we are working on it. But today I would like to start with Ms. Atre, who has done a lot of work on that, and I will request you to give his opinion that whether he believes that pollution really exists. Ms. Atre.
Thank you very much, Mr. Kale. Am I audible?
Yes.
Okay, nice to be on this panel of Pollution Control India. Thank you, Himakshi, Sanchayata, and the team for inviting me. And nice to see Atul Mehta also here, who is a very innovative entrepreneur. And it is good to be on this panel. Mr. Kale is a very experienced person with lots of experience in environment work and in India and abroad. It's lovely to be here. I already see more than 50 participants on this Zoom channel. Maybe there are others coming. And it is also possible that when we are, after we are live, this recording will reach out to many, many more. And we will be able to spread our message to the society through these individuals who will log into our webinar. So some thoughts, of course, pollution exists, and the question is a provocative question just to bring about people to think, and does pollution really exist? There are various kinds of pollution, as we know, and we are also discussing in some levels the pollution in the mind. And the mind pollution is something which I speak on every day. It is leadership, emotional intelligence, and these kinds of skills, life skills, are what I speak on. But pollution in our day-to-day life and in our environment, in our society, in our locality, in our country, in our world, is definitely a real fact. And the environment is something which is our lifeline, yet we forget to think about the environment as we go along. If you look at your individual self, every human being is busy with work. And when the individual is busy with work, then the individual forgets to look after his own ecosystem. And that ecosystem is perhaps something which we need to look after a little better. So perhaps what we can do is to think a little more deeply about our own individual environment and to think a little more deeply about our nation's environment, our globe's environment. When we are on the treadmill of life, when we are running fast, and when we are just running without thinking, and we don't pause to reflect, then we are in danger of not really reaching where we should, because we are thinking little and running more. People run mindlessly at times. Their lives are mindlessly controlled, and we are, without thinking, we are trying to attain goals which are perhaps elusive, which are never going to be attained, and the goalposts keep shifting. So what happens in the process? We forget to clean our surroundings, environment, not only physically, but we also forget to take care of our body, mind, and soul. If we look at our body, we take care of it, we feed it something, then we do a little exercise, we run around here and there. The mind is usually full of news and information and garbage also, which is coming, verbiage which is coming, opinions which are coming, sounds which are coming, the mind also doesn't get much rest. And the soul is something which in India we know very well, but still we neglect meditation, contemplation, mindfulness, scripture study. These are also things we should do. If we talk of the environment at a physical level, if we talk of how our environment is affecting us and how it should be, there is a lot that is to be desired. We know that in this crisis which has come, the pandemic, the world's environment has improved dramatically because people have stopped carrying out those pollution generating activities. Small industries, big industries, vehicular pollution, airline pollution, various other kinds of pollution which takes place has been stemmed for the last few months. And the world is now coming back to its normal activity, where again we will have to think whether we should go back to being what we were and keep on polluting the environment in the same way, or can we really pause and think? Let us look at the individual level first. At the individual level, what can we do to keep our environment pollution free? What we can do is probably to take a leaf out of some of the villagers, some of the tribals, some of the small common men, as we call them, of the country or of the world. They look after the environment in a manner which is self-sustaining. We don't see too much pollution emitting fumes coming out from rural areas or tribal areas because they are into cottage industry, they are into small little livelihoods, they are into agriculture and farming where pollution is not being generated. Unless we talk of stubble burning in agriculture, which is a very major crisis which occurred in North India, especially every year for the last few years, where stubble burning had to be stemmed and checked, and even criminal cases had to be filed against people. That is the only cause where agriculture or farming has created problems. Whereas industry, if it is mindlessly set up, if the pollution control norms are not followed, can really pollute the environment in a manner which is not really desirable at all, and long-term repercussions are there. I was SDM in Kalka for some years, 2 or 3 years, about 25 years ago now. And in Kalka, I remember a polluting unit from across the border in Parvanu in Himachal. And the pollutants used to come into our area, and the water channels used to be polluted. And this unit was not applying the norms that were required and not spending that money which was required to purchase the equipment which would reduce that or eliminate that pollution. So as SDM, I had to issue a magistrate kind of order to prevent that pollution and to force this industry to take action. And then, of course, in collaboration with the neighboring administration of Solan district and Parvanu, it was done. So little things like this can also be done at an individual level. We have to see whether our own environment is clean, whether people are using things which are polluting the climate, whether a lot of smoke is bellowing from here and there, whether garbage is lying here and there. What is the garbage recycling method being carried out in our locality? Is garbage segregation taking place? Is proper waste management taking place? Are we burning the waste? Are these things happening? What about water pollution? Is water pollution taking place in our locality or in our area? These are things also that an individual can at least think about. And small little societies or units or groups or volunteer groups, if they are formed, then awareness can be carried out amongst the locality, and a lot of steps can be taken by that locality to become pollution free or less pollution. In government, I was in charge of e-governance for my department, and we used to talk of a paperless government. It was not possible. However, then we started talking of less paper. Less paper means that at least you are not using too much paper, you are using electronic means, you have reduced the amount of paper being used. If paper is saved, then environment also improves. You know that trees will not be utilized for that, and those trees are needed for the breathing of the world. And when you talk of less paper, we can also talk of less pollution. If we cannot be pollution free, we can have much reduced pollution in our environment. We can have measures which are good ideas to take forward these pollution reducing ways of existing and subsisting, which mankind will then prosper in a better manner. We have been thinking about water pollution a lot. You know that drinking water is not safe for a large number of people of the world. They are drinking water which is polluted and contaminated, and they are not getting safe drinking water access. There are ways to purify water. I will share with you a very surprising and very heartening research work carried out by Shulini University in Solan, where I am also visiting professor and advisor of leadership. I find that a young student called Aman and her professor Kulshrestha have carried out an experiment which reduces water pollution dramatically using drumsticks and moringa powder. Moringa powder, when applied into water, purifies that glass of water. They have used small sachets of moringa or that casket of water by 99% removal of impurities. It is almost something dramatic, and it has that young student Aman, a young lady, has won the Water Fellow Award from the United Nations for that beautiful research. So, Mr. Kale, I'm sure you'll have other points for me. These were my initial thoughts. Over to you again. You're on mute, Kale sir. You need to unmute. Yeah, now it's okay.
I'm so happy that you have come on our side of the table, because all these IAS officers are occupying the Pollution Control Board secretaryship, and they are not willing to sign on the closure orders because he knows that he may be transferred tomorrow to the department.
Yeah, I'm on your side.
So, since you know the story, I'm very happy that you can lead us in this pollution control business. Pollution is actually a discarded raw material. That is our thinking. And I'm sure that we can do a lot of industries, there is a lot of money in that. And then if somebody can do it, because plastic industry talks about the recycle, but hardly 2 or 3% of the plastic is getting recycled. We have a large scope there, so also other industries. So do you have any other idea which can be converted into a practical solution? Because we have got a Mr. Mehta who can push us in that direction.
Yes, in fact, you spoke of plastic, and we know how damaging plastic is to wildlife, to ocean life, to various forms of human and animal living. You have seen cows eating plastic bags at garbage stations, etc. Garbage segregation and plastic segregation and non-biodegradable segregation from the biodegradable waste is vital to the context. Each municipality, each sector of each city or town needs to do this. One idea that I have had, and I was Director Environment of Chandigarh for a while, is that young children need to be utilized to create more awareness. You see, school children, when they go back home, they tell their parents, sir, papa, mama, ma'am has told us this. Now, when ma'am has told them something, then that becomes the gospel, and that becomes the Bible, and that becomes the Bhagavad Gita, and that becomes the Guru Granth Sahib. So there's a ma'am ne bola hai, to isliye karna padega papa. So that kind of utilization of the young children manpower, children power rather, they go home and they tell their parents, Papa, these steps have been given by the school. We are not following these 2, 3. We are following these 2, 3. Let us become totally environment friendly in our home. In our plastic usage, we should eliminate it. We should use alternative forms of bags, of other things. We should reduce pollution in whatever ways. We should segregate waste. So these children power can make a revolutionary change in the whole country. All schools of the country tell their children regularly, every month, to go home and tell your parents, this is a little notice from the school. Are you following these? And then parents can come with voluntary stories, videos, how they have made that change. Children can also speak and share. This is an era of video. Right now also we are on video. These video messages, they go to homes, they go to people who are busy, they're on the phone, in their bus, in their car, in their wherever, and that message goes. People don't read as much they used to. I wish people could read more. I am a writer and I love reading, but at least they are watching videos. So these videos of parents, students, teachers, activists, innovators like Atul will tell us about his innovation. They should reach out. And through schools, I think even other things I had always proposed to the administration, like, for example, just giving you an example, traffic management. I used to say that if we can encourage carpooling to the children, tell their parents, Papa, we are not going in our own scooter or car, we will pool with so and so friend. And the number of cars reduced by 50% immediately because one student has adopted carpooling. So that message through the children to the society can be one idea.
And that is more effective.
Yes.
One thing I seen in one African country, that the school has said that every child should bring in half a kilo of plastic. That is the fee for the school. I like that idea. And he must have some entrepreneur in the back of it to collect the plastic and convert it. Of course, plastic only you can convert it either into oil or into another product. But that's one of the good initiatives. And as you say, taking it through the children, which is more effective on the parent, because now parents are looking for the plastic waste.
Yeah.
That is the fee for each child. So that's one of the good idea. But there are other also, we have identified actually 40 industries which can come out. I think Mr. Mehta, one of the ideas is a tire. Because in India, of course, tires is used for burning as a heat source. But the tires can be, you can recover chemicals out of it. You can use so many things. They recover steel, then the coaching, that chemical is recovered. So like that, paper mill. Bombay generates 200 tons of paper, that's what they say, which is equivalent to paper mill production. So I think the scope is huge, and what you have seen on the tip of the iceberg, and I'm sure you can give us more ideas for implementation, because this requires a complete implementation, collection, conversion, and of course marketing. So that has to be done, and through the industry and through, as you say, school propagations, we can take it further. Mr. Mehta, can I come to you for your novel ideas?
Sure, sir. Sure. Am I audible, sir?
Yes.
Oh, sir. So welcome. Good morning to all speakers and as well as all the audiences there. I'm Atul Mehta and I'm the founder of Soulcraft, and it's a textile and tire upcycling initiative where we are making school kits and many more products for gifting purposes as well as for government schools. So on this topic, I would like to tell you that like pollution is something which got noted from the days of industrialization, where when all the countries were transforming from agriculture society to started making industries and using machineries, and when all the laborers, all the daily workers were getting replaced by the assembly lines and all that kind of things. So we cannot say that there is not a pollution or there is pollution, but we have to see that how can we reduce these pollution things. For example, if we see that there are if I tell from my background, like I am a social entrepreneur in textile background, like I observed that textile industry is the second most pollutant after the oil industry. So I thought that why can't we change this industry in a little bit? So I just started manufacturing some things like school bags, pencil boxes, many kind of accessories like luggage bags and footwears, as well as many things. So it was like people were really appreciated me because they didn't put names. So they reached out to me regularly if they can if I can produce for themselves their denims also. So they started doing collection drives in their homes, in their societies, in their colleges. They approached me to manufacture products for them. So it also boosted me that a thought of mine got appreciated by many people. So it is like we can do many things which can do less of pollution, but we have to see for which all things can get converted into or recycled to a new products. And there are three primary impact points when it comes to industrialization. Is there air pollution, water pollution, as well as soil pollution, as well as habitat. And major of all is air pollution, which is due to the reasons of the industrialization. Like there are many factories, many industries which are where there is no effective plants for curbing this pollution. Like for example, if we see that if we import there are many kind of plants from China and many more countries which make pollution for control for plants for controlling pollution. So what we can do is, like in any textile industry, we can use these kind of plants so that the water which is going out of that factory gets first of all segregated from the toxic chemicals, so that the water which is landing in the agriculture in the agriculture society, gets reduced from that amount of toxic chemicals. And there are many more things, like how can we reduce the impact of pollution is like we can reduce reliance on products that are causing pollution. We can reduce their production. We can also reduce their using in the industries, so that we can reduce pollution. And also we can treat the industrial waste which is going out after the production gets done, so that the toxic chemicals which are in that waste get reduced. So are the landfills and all the things where this waste is going, then they can be of less harm to us. And what all we can all I can what more points I can get a hold on it, talk on it.
Okay. Regarding textile, I had done a number of treatment plants for the textile mills. There are two parts. One, where they use a lot of dyes and chemicals, and that has for everybody. And second part, cloth. So making the clothes and other, it is then pollution free. Of course, but you have got a lot of cutting there. So you have to dispose of that cloth. As far as chemical is concerned, it contains a lot of salts. And to remove those salts is the most expensive process. And no textile industry wants to waste money on that. It costs them more than the fresh water supply. So they try to avoid it. However, if you give them a good recycle system where they can save the water, fresh water, they go for it. So our treatment plants are now coming up. Government is also forcing them to do that, because the color.
Yeah, but actually the government wants to take measure, but I think that government hasn't taken any kind of measure in the societies for this kind of for this purpose. Because, and if the burden comes on any industries and the factories, it is large, because the costing of these plants are very high. They cannot afford this kind of costing to get into their factories and get the water being treated by these get the water treated. It's very difficult for the factories and industries. It should be the primary duty of government to allocate some funds, or it could be a public private partnership where government is providing half of the funds, and primarily factories also providing half of the funds, so that it could be easier to facilitate these kind of plants establishment in the factories, because these are very costly plants. If I tell you about textile industry.
What you say is correct, and government is also giving incentive. There are common treatment plants, common effluent treatment plants, where they give more than 50% subsidy. But however, our industry is not honest in telling them what volume they are treating, and they change the process also. With that, these common plants are not working. That is the unfortunate thing. However, it can be improved. There are many ways of improving it. And one more thing is, our law is, if you ask me, defective. They are asking each factory to treat, which should not be the case. In America, what I have seen, an industry is supposed to do only primary treatment. It's acidic, they make it, reduce it to alkaline, and then allow to discharge. And when they discharge, based on the pollutants, you are charged. But you don't have to set up your own unit, because setting up a unit requires a lot of engineering, a lot of microbiology, a lot of expertise, and that small industries can't afford. So the government has been mixed up with the municipal sewage, and with that, their plants are working. We can easily do that instead of asking, because the volume of industrial waste is much less than as compared to the city sewage. And if industry can take this lead, that will be a better solution for them. Then we'll get it, because sewage is also not treated and it requires a lot of money, and no government is spending money on the sewage treatment. We are only 10 or 15% of the total sewage treated in India today. So that number has to go up. If that goes up along with the industrial waste, we can reuse the water coming out of that facility. And I know textile one cannot afford it, that I am sure. Similarly, paper mill also, there is a problem. Leather industry, there is a problem. But recovery, as Mr. Athare said earlier, the stress is on recovery at source. Whatever we can recover, as you said, some chemicals can be recovered. There are chemicals which are recovered by paper mills. They use it back into the process. So this has to be done industry-wise. You cannot generalize. But we are here to find the ways and means to recover these resources. That is the aim. Mr. Athare, any other suggestion to you?
Yes, I'm here. Yes.
Can you give us some more leads?
Yes, I would like to talk now about, my own experience as Chandigarh's Director of Environment. So I would like to say that, there were cases where we started garbage segregation much ago, around 2005, when Sehed Safai Kendras were set up, and burning of that garbage was absolutely prohibited, and waste management, small waste management projects were set up also. But more also, I would like to talk about the fact that Chandigarh is a city which has always been one of the cleanest and greenest cities in India. And if you look at the number of trees which are planted every day, there is also a norm that for every tree which has to be cut for development work, this norm is there in other places also, but they don't really follow it much. I think about 6 trees or more have to be planted per tree which is cut. And those trees now in Chandigarh, they were planned in such a way that each lane, each road has that particular kind of tree, which are, some are flowering, some are high trees, some are planned trees. Plantation has taken place. There is even a book on the trees of Chandigarh, which is so well articulated, which has been carried out, which has been published and written by Professor Rajneesh Vatas of the Chandigarh College of Architecture. He's an expert in landscaping and greens. So Chandigarh's example can be replicated in other towns and cities in India. And so much of green space, of course, there are problems of traffic now, which has also increased in Chandigarh. And many roundabouts which used to have a lot of green spaces, they have had to be replaced by red lights. And that red light has, obviously, there is no green. Otherwise, these roundabouts, when you are reaching them, approaching them, they are like spectacular gardens in themselves, beautiful flowers, fountains at times. Now, very few roundabouts are left. However, the number of green spaces per sector are a lot. So they not only provide the opportunity for people to walk and enjoy the fresh air, and plants are there, birds are coming, and children also have play spaces, but also they keep that ratio of built up area and green area within the city, within manageable limits. And what is called the floor area ratio, FAR, per project, is kept to a low minimum, so that the amount of construction per site is only a minimal amount of the total plot, and the rest of the plot has to be kept green. Now, I know in a place like Mumbai, it is not possible to do such a thing. And there are multi-story flats, and there are obviously so many people in the very crowded areas. However, in new townships, etc., in the country, and even in existing towns in some places, it is possible to convert barren spaces into green environment areas where people can, enjoy little things. I tell you that in this lockdown, I myself have become more enamored by the birds than ever before. Maybe I had more time. Maybe I could hear the music of the birds singing more. I even wrote a poem where I'm not a poet, but I wrote a poem on birds and on the environment. I will try to share that with you. And I also, of course, I'm a writer. I write books and columns, but never poetry. So these things have brought about an awareness within me. I think if everybody can become more aware of the environment, we take things for granted. If you look outside, I mean, the pure blue sky which is there nowadays, it is not visible in most places in India, in townships, in cities across the year. But nowadays, because of this, we have got an opportunity to see blue sky. We can see a lot more greens. We can see a lot more birds around. We can see pure, we can feel and breathe pure air. So I think it is time for us also at the national level to take some steps. My involvement with a think tank called Suvichar was mentioned by Himakshi. And General VP Malik, former Army Chief, is also chairman of that. We have many eminent people in that. And we have basically come up with a few suggestions for post-lockdown and post in the future years even. Two suggestions are very much relevant to what we are speaking about today. One of the suggestions is that in government and even in large corporations in the private sector, there should be a norm that only 50% of the people will travel to work on one particular day. By rotation, they will all go to work, but they will not be going every day. So the traffic reduction on the roads is going to be immense if only 50% per day are going. By rotation, they will go, let's say, 3 days a week or 2 days a week or whatever it is, 5 days. Rest of the days they work from home. And that is possible in some areas, in some organizations. And public transport and carpooling are another area which we have mentioned. More efficient public transport. In Chandigarh, the problem is that people do not want to go in a bus or a metro kind of thing. They want to use their own car. And that adds to the pollution. So that is a campaign here. In America, you are aware that there are some good practices of traffic management. They do not allow a car which has a single occupant to go on the fast lane. There are areas where they will say that $250 fine for using this lane unless you are a carpool. So if 2 people are in the car or 3 people are in the car, it is considered to be a carpool. That car which has more people is allowed to use the fast lane. If you are alone, you use the middle lane or the slow lane. So these kinds of incentives and disincentives. Then in Singapore, they say that cars will not go to this particular area of the city. They will have to pay heavy taxes to go to that area. So in Chandigarh, the city center is sector 17. Let's say in Delhi, it is Connaught Place. Let's say somewhere else. So we say that cars will not go there unless they pay a heavy. Now, a vehicle owner who is paying 10 to 15 to 20 lakhs for a car and then paying heavy road tax, he is paying 5 rupees for a parking or 10 rupees for a parking, which is not relevant to today's times. We have to, as citizens, really, we might crib about it or complain. But in order to get better facilities, you should be paying 20, 30, 40, whatever rupees you have to. In a mall, you gladly pay more. But in the public parking, you won't. Another idea we have given, and this is a more drastic idea, is that there should be a 10-day national holiday in the summer and 10-day national holiday in the winter. In many countries, this actually happens. They close down all offices. Even in the Western countries, during Christmas time, nobody will work. After 24th or 23rd of December, they will come back to work on 10th January. Nobody will be there in offices, you go for a call. In India, we keep working 365, working or whatever. We have 365 days and no closure. So, there are many government holidays. People laugh at the government holidays, but people actually do not take a national holiday or break. 10 days in the end of December or first 10 days of January, 10 days in June, close the country, relax everything, stop public transport, even cars on the roads, let people walk around. There is no curfew, but you are not polluting the environment for those 20 days of the year. It is getting some little breather. These are also ideas we have given. Over to you, Mr. Kale, for more ideas.
I think from our lockdown, we can learn one thing. We can take an extensive holiday, but once a week, we must have a curfew. Because now we are used to it. 2.5 months, instead once a week is worth it, and then everything is quiet. And this is possible. I think we can immediately implement it. Because Bombay, we are facing it because there are no trains. This was never imagined that we cannot.
Never imagined. I know.
Which is happening. No, somebody.
I think you have a lot of questions, Kale sir. We may not have time later. Would you like to take some questions?
Sure. Why not?
Somebody will have to read them out.
Should I read?
Can you see them on the chat?
Right.
Yeah,
Yes,
please go ahead. Please go ahead.
There is one question from Mridul Gandhi.
Kale, sir, do you want me to help you with the questions?
I appreciate.
Yes. Sir, the following questions from Mr. Mridul Gandhi is, of course, he wants to address on why humans keep throwing plastics on road and also in river and oceans. But very important question that he's asked is what kind of plants can we adopt in terms of in terms of reducing pollution? What are the plants that you could suggest? Some key names of some plants.
I think Mr. Kale may know. I am not aware of the plant. All I know is that it is luxuriant plants and with more of foliage, more leaves, bigger, more green in the plant.
Okay, great. Mr. Mridul Gandhi, the focus needs to be foliage. Vishwas sir, do you want to name any plants?
No, I'm not a chemist.
So, Mr. Mridul Gandhi, we will definitely get back to you on this. We have some experts on flora and fauna, and we will get back to you with an answer on this. Sanchita, please make a note of this. Then we have, again, Mr. Mridul Gandhi has been very active. Then, okay, we expect 4 to 5 resolutions from the industry to contain pollution in the new normal. Can any of the panelists let us know what is the concrete plan in future?
I'm not clear.
The question that Mr. S.K. Tyagi has is that it is expected that there are going to be 4 to 5 strong resolutions from the government side in terms of pollution control for the new normal. That is the new situation post-COVID.
Okay, I can take this one. I can, maybe Atul and Kale sir can add after a couple of points from this. So one resolution that I think, as I already mentioned, that 100% of the workforce does not go to work on any day. It has to be reduced so that the vehicular traffic on the roads and also the pollution due to the vehicles is reduced every day. If the industry commits that half of the people or 1/3 of the people will work from home, and by rotation they will all come to office, but not every day, and that can be one way. That is one resolution. The other is that they resolve to implement all the norms that are there for their industry to minimize the pollution that is being caused by their activity. Whatever norms in that, but let's say even the small sector like the poultry farms. Now the poultry creates a lot of flies, and a lot of, I have been DC and SDM in an area where we have seen a lot of flies are there, and a lot of fumes are there, and a lot of smell is there. So what they need to do is to put this simple equipment which controls that. Industry has to resolve to follow the norms as per the pollution board or whatever norms are there in their industry, to ensure that these norms are, equipment is purchased and implemented in their there. The third resolution that can be there in the industry is that each employee takes an oath that he at his individual level, he or she will make sure that he will plant a tree, will maybe help the environment of its own colony or sector or area, locality, will create awareness about environment. So some small voluntary groups can be formed by the industry workers, and the industry management can encourage them. And they can then go on to create a wave of environment awareness in their area. And tree plantation by the industry itself, by the company in its own campus, in nearby areas. Maybe the government can allocate areas to companies that you look after this particular green area, you plant trees over here. They'll be very happy. A small board saying dedicated or looked after by so and so company. These are 4 or 5 ideas I have at the industry.
One of the ideas that can be easily implemented is, in Bombay, the planting a tree is a little difficult job, but we can think of zero garbage. Or if you take the wet garbage into your small pots, it leads to zero garbage, and we have successfully implemented these projects in many housing societies.
Very good. Very good.
So that can be enhanced, and that will reduce your solid waste also. And the rest of it is being purchased by the scrap dealers. So that can be done. And second, my suggestion, as I said, that 1 week holiday for every city. You have to decide that this particular day will not work.
That's right.
And that's a government order.
Atul? Atul may have some ideas.
Yeah, if we talk from the field of textiles, then we see that there are a lot of waste being produced by the factories which they are sending to the landfills. What they can do is they can use these kind of material in their factories also. Like they can make dresses from that wastage for their laborers, for their employees. This can be a major change where the waste is not going out of the factory and it is being used inside the factory and for themselves only. This is a major thing I suggest.
Mr. Atul, there is an NGO in Mumbai working. They take this cloth, scrap cloth, saris and all that thing, and they convert into a good dairy.
Okay.
They sell it at a concessional rate. So we can promote such activities. And in fact, textile industry can adopt one of these NGOs.
Yes, very true.
More questions we can take.
Any other questions?
In Q&A also you have some questions, Himakshi. Q&A.
How could we effectively utilize plastic on road construction on an economical scale? The gentleman who's asked, we don't have his name, but just for your information, everybody, including the panelists, we are going to have another session on the 20th of this month, June, when we have 2 speakers from this very field of construction and very versatile architects who will be addressing the concept on utilization of plastic and recycling of various waste materials in the interest of smart construction and circular economy. So maybe that could address, but nevertheless, so would you like to make a comment on how could we effectively utilize plastic for road construction on an economical scale?
Right now used in road construction in many fashions. In fact, the minister has taken it upon himself, Mr. Gadkari, and he is also advocating. So this can be easily implemented, but the amount of plastic is so huge that I don't know how far it will be useful. But they have already made the beginning, and many roads in Bangalore, I found 20 years ago there were roads where the plastic is used, and the roads are in a very good condition. So this can be expanded further.
Okay. Then we have another question. This is for you, Mr. Atul. Mr. Mridul Gandhi would like you to talk something about the way you have been creative with the denim material and the tires. What kind of products? And if you could maybe, share a screen or a few photographs.
I won't be able to share, I guess, screen, but I would tell you that
Okay.
how did I started and what gave me this idea. It was like I took some denims from my home, like of my wife as well as my father, and just get some trendy products made out of it, and I just give it to my colleagues as well as friends as well as my family members. So it was like Diwali, and we had around 50 to 60 denims from our house taken to our factory. So we just make some products and we just deliver to our friends and this, and but there was some bags which were remaining, which were like backpacks. So we were just going to a school, as my wife is from academic background. She used to teach government school children. So one day we were going to the schools and we took some school bags and we donated to them. So after that, we just got a call from the government school teachers that especially principal, that can we have more of this stuff. So from that day it made me very enthusiastic that how can government school principal can call me and ask for these kind of stuff. So this really enthusiasmed me, and I started making many products out of denims from that stage. It was like school bags, luggage bags, laptop bags, iPad covers, wallets, as well as footwear. So there are many kind of accessory we started making, and we started doing for this for as a corporate gifting as well as for retail purpose. We have also opened 2 to 3 pop-up shops in the tourist places where we are getting a good response for this kind of products. So this has been a journey from just an idea and to a scaling up stage for this very crucial for a startup in its initial stage to understand whether your idea can be scalable or not.
Thank you so much, Atul sir. There's one more question, and
Yes.
this question is: in what other business ventures could you suggest in the sustainability field, in the field of sustainability? This is of course to you, but after that, Vivek sir and Vishwas sir, you could also suggest this for young entrepreneurs who are at this point in time, some who are enthusiasts and some who are looking for alternative business options.
Yeah, I just want to tell you guys that there are many kind of startups which I am seeing and I have been through. Is like there are many companies which are making furniture, which includes tables, chairs, as well as like many more things which are of furniture category. They are making from old tire and tubes, and they are doing really well. They have a good turnover and they are exporting out of India. Actually, out of India, the Europe markets and the America markets are they really appreciate anything which is made from waste and which is highly durable. So there are many startups which are doing this kind of jobs, and we have also seen many startups doing making tiles from the plastics. I've just come across a startup I just saw on TV or what they are doing really good by making tiles from the plastics as well. So there are many more opportunities. We just have to saw them. Like if I give you example of from my industry, like Arvind Limited. Arvind Limited, what they are doing is they are taking the denims from they sold out and they are making new clothes from the old denims. They completely recycle these denims and they make new products out of these denims, especially denims. They are doing like denims from denims. They are making denims which were old denims and making new denims out of it. So there are many more ventures which are in the picture, but you have to identify what is your core strength and how can you tap the market for the products which you are doing. You have to really do a very I mean to say that you have to work on the market, like what are the needs, are what are we doing, will they be acceptable in the market or not? Then only you should proceed with your idea. Over to you.
Thank you so much, Atulji. Vivek sir, Vishwas sir, any thoughts for the
I,
audience?
can I add something?
Yes, yes, please.
See, when we are talking about the recovery recycle, I have been to some of the units in Europe, what they do there, they collect specific material. For example, building construction, the debris that is collected, there is a separate site for that. So anybody who wanted to dispose of the debris, he has to pay for it and send it to the site. There it is segregated. For example, columns, beams, bricks, stones and all, they are separately stored. The person who wanted to use that, he has to send his truck and it is given to him not only the material, but some incentive for him to carry from the site. So they have this kind of debris. They have for garbage also, because from garbage you can take, do a lot of gas generation. The gas is collected and used in the factory. So if you do the segregation and this kind of segregated waste material, there is plenty of money also in it. And there is an incentive. For example, instead of Mumbai, we find that all the debris lying somewhere, then it will go to the particular site because you are making money out of it. And this idea has to come here, but here the garbage collection is totally in the hands of mafia, and we have no control on that. And that is the reason it is difficult. If you put a project, no raw material will come to you. That's what I experience.
Thank you so much. Vivek sir, would you like to add anything?
Yeah, I would like to talk about use of renewable energy by units, and those who are using renewable energy, obviously their fuel requirement is less, their electricity requirement is less, and their pollution is less. So if they are installing solar panels, if they are using, of course, wind energy is not very much prevalent in India because the funnel does not provide enough power. And somehow Gujarat, I think still they have some wind energy units. But solar energy definitely, and some are using even natural water streams. Like I'll tell you an example of cottage industry in Himachal, which is using what are called pools, and these are pools are basically natural streams of water, springs of water which are channelized, and they channelize them, and then these are used to turn kind of equipment which is used for grinding wheat. And that wheat which is ground due to that water pressure, that turbine kind of thing keeps working. And that wheat which is there is the best form of wheat that you will get. So these kinds of uncontaminated and unpolluting kinds of activities are also wonderful. Wherever possible, we have to innovate. In Mumbai, it is something else. In Himachal, it will be something else. In South India, it will be something else. So we have to innovate and be practical.
Thank you so much, sir. So, just last two questions. I know we're running out of time. One is from Mr. Dhairya Doshi, who asks that Western countries are now adopting urban farming. Should India also do it, and will it help India?
Yeah, in my view, urban farming is a good idea, but it cannot replace the agricultural farming in rural areas. Urban farming will add to the farming of India. It cannot be a substitute. And wherever urban farming is possible, it is definitely useful because that much area will be used for greens and it will not be constructed on. So urban farming even on rooftops is possible, even on patches of land is possible. And wherever it is set aside in a city or town, it is also good. It can supplement the already going on activities in other areas.
Thank you so much. And now we have a upcoming foundation. They have asked this question. Thank you for the valuable session. May I know where can I get a waste repository or directory of waste for Indian industries? They want to study this directory and basically maybe grow on that and create it as a guideline. So basically they want to know of a directory on the various wastes.
I don't think such a directory exists because these are all data collected by various industries. The one agency that do is government agency, that is called the National Environmental Engineering Research Institute, Nagpur.
Okay.
Periodically do this study, and that study is available with them as well as the Central Pollution Control Board, CPCB.
Okay.
So that can be available, but there is no specific directory as such.
Okay. Great. Mr. Gade, I hope this answers your question. You could connect with Mr. Vishwas Kale on LinkedIn and with Mr. Vivek Atre and Mr. Atul Mehta for any queries that you have in future. We will also be sending across an email to everybody with all the details. Before we end, and I give a thank you, we just want to run a quick short 30-second poll. Ankush, could you make the poll live?
Yes, it is live now.
Everybody, please poll in. We just want to know your suggestions on what kind of topic would you like to discuss in the upcoming events that we would be coming in. We have brilliant speakers. We have a brilliant community, and we want to keep growing this community. Hopefully, we should have some great conclusions like we've had today. We've had some great points from all the three speakers. In fact, Mr. Kale stepped in very gracefully, sparing his time yesterday, and he's given us some brilliant points in terms of industrial pollution management and what has been happening internationally. Mr. Vivek Atre, entire treasure chest of knowledge on how we can work together at an individual level and how things are being changed at the government level. And Mr. Atul Mehta, of course, the business entrepreneur who has taken a lot of guts to start off a venture which is completely on sustainability, recycling and reuse. Vishwas sir, would you like to give any closing statements? Over to you, sir.
My only statement is I am so happy that one ex-IAS officer has come on our side. So through him, we can push a lot of ideas, because there are many ideas. In a small way, we have to start. Government cannot move because they have their own limitations. Because our Prime Minister has struggled for the last 6-7 years, and still it will take another 10 years to see a sizable development. But once he takes it in mind, like Sulabh Shauchalayas and all, this area can definitely improve, particularly if we show the economical results. This recycle ideas will definitely grow, and they are growing at various levels already. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Atre. Mr. Atul, would you like to close with any points?
Yeah, it's been a pleasure to be a part of this panel, and a very important topic has been raised by you. I think all the panelists have given good ideas for you, and all the people who have attended. Let us stay connected on LinkedIn, and my LinkedIn is there. Others' LinkedIn is also there. Just search, check the spellings of our names properly, and search for us. And also be in touch on Instagram, social media, wherever. This is the era of being connected. One conversation or one seminar, webinar should not dissipate into the thin air. We should follow up. And as Mr. Kale said, I will be very happy to help in any way I can.
Mr. Atul?
It was really pleasure for calling me here, ma'am. And secondly, I would like to tell you guys, like, if anyone want to join our community of Soulcraft, then they can start by just by collecting, doing collection drives of denims in their society, in their colleges, in their any cafes or anything where they want. And they can also join us by many more things, which I could forward you, Himakshi, and you can tell your audience.
Definitely, Atul sir. Thank you so much. And everybody, let's actually create a change. And that's what is the hashtag of Pollution Control India. Hashtag change begins with us. Thank you, everybody. And just as we leave, we are a community which is focusing on such activities. Please welcome your friends. Please help us grow this community. And Ankush, can we have the next topic, which is going to be happening on the 20th of June? And of course, we have some brilliant partners. Ankush, just go back to the partner screen. We have FairAct, as always, supporting us. Our execution partner, who's also been strategic in helping us connect with Mr. Kale. We have Afix Center, our technology partner. We have our association, the ISA, and of course, our registration partner, ViableSoft. And the next week, on the 20th of June, we have two really young entrepreneurs, Mr. Sharang Ambadkar, who is the founder of Feel Good Innovations, a vivid traveler, a storyteller, and Mr. Anuj Gupta, who is the founder of Design to Occupancy Services LLP, a very close friend of mine too. They're going to be talking on circular economy in the construction and plastic industry. They're hardcore green building people. And I think towards sustainable development, they're playing a big role. I hope to see all of you again on the 20th of June. Thank you so much for joining us today. All the speakers, thank you Vishwas sir, thank you Vivek sir, thank you Atul ji. And have a good day, everybody.
Thank you.
Bye-bye. Thank you all the attendees for being
Bye.
here. Let's stay connected. हो गया खत्म.